Namaste class, welcome again. Now here we will first see the distinction between double entry system and single entry system. The first point of distinction is nature of system. Double entry system, it is a scientific system of accounting and provides complete and detailed record of business transactions, whereas single entry system, it is an unscientific method and does not provide complete and detailed record of business transaction. So this is nature of system. Second point of distinction is recording of both aspects. So in double entry system, both the aspects, that is debit and credit, of every transactions are recorded in it, whereas in single entry system both the aspects of every transactions are not recorded. Types of account, third point of distinction. All types of accounts, that is personal, real and nominal, are maintained under it, whereas in single entry system only personal account and cash book are maintained under it. Fourth, trial balance. Trial balance can be prepared to check the arithmetic accuracy of the books of account. This is for double entry system. And for single entry system, trial balance cannot be prepared to check the arithmetic accuracy of the account. So in case of double entry system, trial balance we are not able to create the trial balance. Now the next point is profit and loss account. So trading and profit and loss account can be prepared to ascertain true profit or loss. In double entry system we can create profit and loss account, whereas in single entry system trading and profit and loss account cannot be prepared to ascertain true profit or loss. So this is for single entry system. In single entry system trading and profit and loss account cannot be prepared. Balance sheet. Balance sheet is prepared to ascertain the true financial position. So we can create balance sheet here, and here balance sheet cannot be prepared to ascertain the true financial positions. Only a statement of affair is prepared on the basis of incomplete record and estimates. So here our record is incomplete. We cannot create balance sheet. Now legal proof. So book maintained under this system are accepted as evidence in a court of law. So if there is any dispute, we can provide double entry system as a proof, but book maintained under single entry system, they are not accepted as evidence in the court of law. Reliability. Books maintained under this system are reliable as these are based on scientific principles. So reliability. Books maintained under this system are not reliable as these are based on estimates. These are greater, or there is greater chances of errors and frauds. So this single entry system is less reliable, double entry system is more reliable. Cost. Double entry system, it is relatively more expensive, whereas single entry system, it is less expensive system. And rule of recording. So in double entry system, strict rules are followed for recording the business transactions, whereas in single entry system no set of rules are followed for recording the business transactions. Inter-firm comparison. So final account of two or more firms can be compared because the same set of rules are followed. So here in double entry system we can compare two firms who are dealing in the same kind of business, but in single entry system, final account of different firms cannot be compared because every firm adjusts the recording according to its need and convenience. Suitability. This system is suitable for all types of business, large or small. So this is suitable for all type of business, whether the business is large or small. And this system is suitable only for small firms which have a small number of cash transactions. So single entry system is suitable only for those industries which involve in cash transactions. So these are distinction between double entry and single entry system. So the major point is that in double entry system we can make trial balance, we can make profit and loss account, we can make balance sheet, we can use it for legal proof. It is more reliable, it is little expensive. Rules here we follow some strict rules. Inter-firm comparison in double entry system we can do the comparison. And suitability, this is suitable for all types of businesses, whereas single entry system, this is suitable for only small businesses. Now let us see computerized accounting system. So using computer, how we do accounting. So accounting work involves considerable repetition and routine work. Computers are widely used in accounting work due to fast speed and accuracy of work. Large sized firms prefer computerized accounting due to greater storage capacity, better performance and low cost. Almost all business transactions can be analyzed, classified and summarized with the help of computers. With the help of appropriate programming, data concerning transactions can be stored, processed and furnished by computers. The following types of accounting work can be easily computerized. So how we can use the computers? So to record the business transactions, so daily transactions we can record. Preparation of individual records. From that we can prepare individual records, that is ledger. For each account we create record. Maintenance of stock record. Payroll accounting. Drawing of bills and invoices. Maintenance of purchase and sell ledger. Analysis and summarization of transactions. Reporting and performance through financial statements. So these are various areas in which we do computerized accounting or we use computers. Now let us see accounting cycle. Accounting cycle refers to a complete sequence of accounting activity. It begins with recording of transaction and end with the preparation of balance sheet. Accounting cycle consists of following stages. So accounting cycle, so from April to end of next year's March, we have one accounting year, and in that accounting year, from recording transactions in journal we start and we end up with preparing the balance sheet. So the initial stage is recording transactions in journal and the final stage is preparing the balance sheet. Now accounting cycle consists of following stages. So the first stage is recording financial transactions in journal. This is called journalizing. Journalizing means recording the transactions in journal. In the first step, financial transactions are recorded in the books of original entry, that is journal. In a large enterprise, separate journals are kept for recording different types of transactions. Cash book, purchase book, sales book, purchase return book, sales return book, bills receivable book, bills payable book and journal proper are used to record the transactions. These books are called subsidiary books. So while generalizing, we record all the transactions in one book, or we create small books like cash book, purchase books to record different types of transactions. Okay, so they are called subsidiary books. This is our first stage, to record everything day by day. Second is posting in ledger. The entries recorded in the journal are transferred periodically to appropriate accounts in ledger. So periodically means generally within 15 days or 1 month, what we do, all the records which we have recorded in journal, we transfer them in one other book, that is called ledger. This ledger is for different accounts, we have different ledger books. So we again write the entries in ledger, okay, depending upon accounts, and entering in ledger is called posting. So all transactions of one nature are posted in one account. This results in classification of transactions. Ledger is called the principal book of accounting. At the end of year, all the accounts in the ledger are balanced. Balancing means determining the difference between debit side and credit side totals of account. So at the end of year, we balance the ledger. So balance the ledger means, balancing of ledger means to find the difference between debit and credit side of a particular ledger. Next stage is trial balance. The balance of various accounts appearing in the ledger are transferred to trial balance. Trial balance is a statement containing balances of all the ledger account. The total of debit balance must be equal to total of credit balance. So after ledger, okay, what we do, first we balance the ledger, that means we find the difference of debit side and credit side. Then we prepare the trial balance, okay, that indicates basically the difference of that credit and debit of each ledger. And in trial balance we find total of debit and total of credit. They should balance each other, means total of credit should be equal to total of debit. Next is income statement. At the end of year, income statement is prepared from the trial balance. Income statement or trading and profit and loss account is prepared to determine the net profit, net loss during the year. So after trial balance we create income statement and finally balance sheet. So balance sheet or position statement is the statement of assets and liabilities on a separate date. It is prepared to know the financial position of business. Net profit or net loss ascertained in income statement is transferred to balance sheet. So this balance sheet is our last step. So transaction, this cycle indicates your accounting cycle. So you have to remember this cycle, okay. You can draw this in your notebook once or twice. So the first stage means after transaction, what we do, we record them in journal. Then these journals, okay, from these journals we record them in ledgers. After ledger we create trial balance, then trading account, then profit and loss account, then finally balance sheet. Okay, now balance sheet of 1 year is useful to generalize, to write the journal entries for the next year. Okay, so here you will see that this balance sheet, opening balance sheet they have indicated to journal, means the journal book, okay, receives entries from transactions as well as from balance sheet of the previous year. Sixth step is opening the new book next year. The balance appearing in the balance sheet are transferred in the new journal of the next year. The same process is again repeated next year and year to year. Accounting cycle is therefore an ongoing process as shown in the figure. So this is a complete ongoing figure. Now there are few rules, okay, for debit and credit. These are very important rules. You should understand them properly. The basic rules adopted for debit and credit are given below. Debit the receiver and credit the giver. Okay, debit the receiver and credit the giver. Okay, so if Ram pays 1000 to Mohan, the Mohan's account will be debited because Mohan is receiving 1000. So Mohan's account will be debited and Ram's account will be credited. So you remember this statement, that whenever there is a transaction, okay, the receiver will be debited and the giver will be credited. Second, debit what comes in and credit what goes out of the business. So for example, if a firm purchases furniture for cash, furniture account will be debited as furniture is coming in the business, and cash account will be credited as cash is going out of the business. In other words, increase in the asset are debited and decrease in the asset are credited. So increase in asset means furniture, when it comes in, asset is increasing, so we debit it, and when asset is decreasing or liability is increasing, we credit it. So this is second important rule. The third important rule is debit all expenses and losses and credit all incomes and gains. This is third rule. For example, when a firm pays rent for office, rent account is debited because debit all expenses and losses. Similarly, when the firm receives interest on bank deposit, interest account is credited. So you have to keep these 3 points in your mind whenever you are recording any entry. Now rules for debit and credit. So for personal account, what 3 points we discussed, we have summarized here. Whenever it is a personal account, we use the rule debit the receiver and credit the giver. Whenever we are dealing with real account, we debit what comes in and we credit what goes out. And for nominal account, we debit all expenses and losses and credit all incomes and gains. The significance of debit and credit is described below. When the account of a person or organization is debited, it means that either the person or organization owes the stated amount or some amount payable to him has been paid. Similarly, when the account of a person or organization is credited, it means that the stated amount is payable to him or same amount receivable from him has been paid. Similarly, when account of a person or organization is credited, it means that the stated amount is payable to him or some amount receivable from him has been received. Okay, little confusing. So we read again. When the account of a person or organization is debited, okay, it means that either the person or organization, this is related with your journal entry. In journal entry, you are having debit and that credit side. So when the account of a person or organization is debited, it means that either the person or organization owes the stated amount or some amount payable to him has been paid. Similarly, when the amount of a person or organization is credited, it means that the stated amount is payable to him. It means that the stated amount is payable to him or same amount receivable from him has been paid. Okay, little confusing here. Similarly, when the account of a person or organization is credited, similarly, it's the same statement they have written. When the account of a person or organization is credited, it means that the stated amount is payable to him or the same amount receivable from him has been received. Okay, we discuss it again. Now second point is when an account relating to some asset is debited, it means the quantity of values of that asset has increased. So when an account related to some asset is debited, it means the quantity of value of that asset has been increased. Similarly, when an account relating to some asset is credited, it means the quantity or value of that asset has been decreased. When a nominal account is debited, so here for each, this is real, this is personal, this is real, and this is for nominal. When a nominal account is debited, it means money has been spent or lost. And similarly, when the nominal account is credited, it means money has been earned or received. Okay, so simply you see these three rules only. Okay, so what they say for personal account, debit the receiver means if the money is coming in, debit the receiver, whatever is coming in, whatever is received, that will be debited, and whatever is going out, that will be credited. Okay, simple. For real, whatever is coming in the business, that is debited, and whatever is going out, that is credited. And for nominal account, whatever expenses the business is doing, that is debited, and whatever income and gains are there, that is credited. After the accounts are prepared, the net result of debits and credit of each account is ascertained. If the debits are more, the balance is known as debit balance. If the credit are more, the balance is known as credit balance. So we have debit balance and credit balance. Basic accounting terminologies. So debit balance means debit is more, credit balance means credit is more. Okay. Now basic accounting terminologies. A student of accounting must clearly understand the basic accounting term which are daily used in the business world. These terms are explained in the chapter. First, capital. Capital means the amount which the proprietor or owner has invested in the firm or can claim from the firm. Capital. Capital means, what is capital? So, capital means the amount which the proprietor or owner has invested in the firm or can claim from the firm. So means it is the amount of proprietor which he has invested in the business. Or can claim means as owner has invested this amount in the business, he can claim, he can ask to repay. It may be in the form of money or assets. So this capital, it does not in the form of money only, it can be in the form of asset also, having money value. So suppose I started a business and I used my personal computer in the business, so that personal computer which I am using in my business will be capital. From the firm's point of view, the capital is a liability towards the owner. Now from firm's point of view, because anytime I can ask company to return my computer. Okay, so that means for company it is a liability, it has to return it to the owner. So capital is also known as owner's equity or net worth. So another word we use for capital is owner's equity or net worth. Owner's equity means owner's claim against the firm. Net worth means the difference between total asset and outstanding liabilities. So total asset minus outstanding liabilities is your capital, right? Fine. So capital is total assets minus liabilities. Suppose Ram started his business with an amount of rupees 50,000. During the year he earned a profit of 15,000 and withdrew 10,000 for his personal use. At the end of year, Ram's capital will be 55,000. Now capital at the beginning of year. So initially Ram invested 50,000. Now net profit for the year. So profit, whatever profit is there, it is profit to the Ram. Ram is earning the profit. So net profit of the year is 15,000. So we add this net profit in the capital and I will get the total amount as 65,000. Now Ram has withdrawn 10,000. Okay. So I will subtract this 10,000. So at the end, whatever amount is there in the business, that will be the capital at the end of year. Okay. Now let us discuss liability. Liability means the amount which a business firm owes to outsider. Means this is the amount which a business has to return to outsider. Liabilities represent the claims of those who are not the owners. These are the debt or amount owed to creditors. Liabilities may be fixed or current. Fixed liabilities are repayable after a long period of time. these do not become due for payment in the normal operation cycle of the business. Debentures and long-term loans are the examples of fixed liability. So I will give another example. Suppose I have started a business, I invested some amount from my side, but for business I have to borrow loan from ICICI Bank. So in that case, I have borrowed money from ICICI Bank, means my company which I have started, that has borrowed money from ICICI Bank, and the money which is borrowed need to be returned again, right, after 3 year or 4 year. So that is long term, okay, long term borrowing, and that is liability for the company which I have started, because the company has to return that amount to ICICI Bank again. So liability is of fixed type or current type. Now fixed means we have to return after a long period of time, and current liability are repayable within a year. So if we have to return money within a year, it is called current liability. Trade creditor, bill payable, bank overdraft, outstanding expenses, proposed dividend, etc. are examples of current liabilities. Liabilities represent the excess of asset over the capital. So current liability means suppose again in my business, the goods which I need is supplied by someone. Now whoever is supplying me goods, okay, I have to pay him, okay, not on daily basis, but after say 3 months or 4 months, like that. Then in that case, as I have to pay him because he is supplying me goods, okay, that is a current liability, because I have to pay within a year, okay. So here different types of payment like trade creditor, bill payable, bank overdraft, these are various types of payment which I have to make, and they are come under category of current liability. Now current liability or liabilities, they are excess of assets over capital. Contingent liabilities are those liabilities which shall become payable on the happening of a particular event. Contingent means these liabilities depend upon certain happenings, certain events. If the event does not happen, it shall not be payable, that is, it is contingent on the happening of such events. For example, the firm has given a guarantee for a loan taken by another firm. Our firm shall be liable to pay loan to the bank only when the other firm does not pay the loan. Thus, liabilities is equals to assets minus capital. Third is asset. Asset means anything which will enable the firm to get a cash or benefit in future. Asset means anything which will enable the firm to get a cash or benefit in future. According to Finney and Miller, assets are future economic benefits, the rights which are owned or controlled by an organization or individual. In other words, assets are things of value owned and used in the business. An asset can be converted into cash, or some benefit can be obtained from it in the future. Assets are equal to the sum of capital and liabilities. Thus, assets is equals to capital plus liability. Assets are of several types, like liabilities have several types, assets also have several types. One is fixed asset. So these assets are acquired for use over a long period of time and not for resale. So I have purchased one office, so that is for a long period of time. So this is a fixed asset. Fixed assets are used for production and supply of goods and services. These assets help in earning revenue. These assets help in earning revenue means if we have fixed assets, then that asset help us to earn revenue, means periodic income. land and buildings, plant and machinery. Plant and machinery means big machines which we have in our office. Furniture and features, etc. are examples of fixed assets. Second is current assets. These assets are acquired for resale. Now current assets are for resale. These assets are acquired for resale or conversion into cash as soon as possible. Cash in hand. So current assets means they are again assets, but we can convert them in cash soon. So cash in hand, cash at bank, debtor, stock in hand, etc. are the examples of current assets. Next is liquid assets. Liquid assets, current assets, which can be converted into cash at a very short notice and without risk of loss, are called as liquid or quick assets. Cash in hand, cash at bank, government securities, they are the examples of liquid assets. Now we have vesting assets. The fixed assets which have a limited useful life and depreciate rapidly are known as vesting assets. Mines, machinery, etc. are examples of vesting assets. Tangible assets. These assets have a physical existence. They can be seen, touched and felt. Example, plant and machinery. Intangible assets. These assets have no physical existence. They cannot be seen, touched or felt. Example, goodwill, plants, patent, etc. So tangible means which we can see, which we can touch. Intangible means which we cannot see, cannot touch. Like if I use the word say Bata shoes. So Bata is a brand, na? So that branding is your intangible asset. Okay. Now we have fictitious assets. These assets have no value. They represent the unwritten off expenses or losses. Example, preliminary expenses, discount on issue of shares, etc. So these are different categories of assets. Now revenue. What we mean by revenue? Revenue means the receipt or return received by the firm. Okay. Few topics are there. So revenue means the receipt or return received by the firm. It is the sum money received or to be received from the customer or client of the business as a result of sale of goods or services to them. So whenever we sell and we receive amount, that amount is count as revenue. Revenue is the monetary expenses of the aggregate of product or services transferred by the enterprise to the customer. So whatever product we give to customer or whatever service we provide to the customer, the charge for that is revenue. Revenue is an inflow of asset which result in the increase in the owner's equity. So revenue, as it come in the business, okay, it increases the asset of the business and thereby increasing the owner's equity. Receipt from sale of goods, income from rent, dividend, etc. are examples of revenue. Now expenses. So expenses is just the reverse of revenue. Expenses is the monetary value of the inputs or resources consumed. So whatever resources we have consumed, for that whatever monetary value, that is called expense. According to the American Accounting Association, expenses is the expired cost, directly or indirectly, related to a given physical period of the flow of goods or services into the market of related operations. Recognition of cost expiration is based either on complete or partial decline in the usefulness of assets or on the appearance of liability without corresponding increase in assets. In other words, expense means the cost or sacrifice incurred for earning revenue. So very difficult definitions are there. In short, we can say the expense are here the last statement is simple one. Expense means the cost or the sacrifice incurred for earning revenue. So to earn revenue, whatever expense we do, whatever cost we have, that is expense. Now purchase. Purchase, we all know. Purchase. Purchase means the total amount of goods purchased by the firm on cash or credit. Purchase means the total amount of goods purchased by the firm on cash or credit. The term does not include purchase of any asset such as machinery, stationery, etc. Goods taken by owner for his personal use are also not included in the purchase. In trading concern, purchase consists of goods for resale. A manufacturing firm purchases consist of raw material, semi-finished goods and finished goods, etc. So purchase means the items which we are purchasing for reselling, so that will include in purchase. And similarly sales. Sales, it means the amount of goods sold to the customer on cash or credit. Sales do not include value of include the sale of value of a fixed asset sold by the firm, goods sent on consignment and goods sold on hire purchase bank, and there is something missing from this line. So sale means generally the amount of goods which we are selling on a regular basis to the customers to get cash, okay, or we are selling for credit purpose. Okay, if I am selling my furniture, then it will not be considered as sale. So, sale is something which periodically I am doing, okay, for generating revenue for my business. Stock. Stock means goods laying unsold on a particular date. So the goods which I am selling, stock means, you see in my shop there is so much stock. So much stock means the goods, the amount of goods which is still there in my shop. So stock means goods laying unsold on a particular date on which the balance sheet is prepared. It ascertains the value of a stock. It is necessary to prepare a complete list of all the items in the godown together with their quantities. Stock is valued on the basis of cost or market price, whichever is less. The stock may be opening stock or closing stock. Opening stock means the goods laying unsold in the beginning of accounting year, and closing stock means goods laying unsold at the end of accounting year. So in simple words, stock means the goods which are unsold. Now debtors, a person who owes money to the firm or account of goods sold on credit is a debtor. Account of goods sold on credit. So if I sell something and I haven't received the money, then that account from which I have to receive money is debtor. The term debtor involves the total amount of money which customer owe to the firm. When the goods are sold on credit, the money which the customer have not paid for receiving goods and services represent debtors. Loans and advances granted by the firm are not included in the debtors. Creditors, a person to whom the firm owes money on account of credit purchase is a creditor. Creditor include trade creditor or creditor for the goods purchased on credit. Loans and advances raised by the firm are excluded from trade creditors. So creditor, a person to whom the firm owes the money, means the firm has to repay the money. So that is creditor. Creditor include trade creditor. So there are different categories of creditor, like trade creditor or creditor for goods purchased on credit. Loan and advances raised by the firm. So when I take loan, so from the firm whom I am taking loan, that firm is creditor. Net profit or income. Now it means the excess of revenue over the expenses. So when I have more revenue as compared to expense, then I have profit. It represents the result of business activities during a particular period of time. It is the surplus which belong to owner of the business. Net profit is the reward for the owner against his capital. Net profit is the reward for the owner against his capital. And net loss, loss means something against which the firm receives no benefit. Expenses lead to revenue, but losses do not. So here loss means what? It is something against which the firm receives no benefit, right? Net loss. Expenses lead to revenue, but losses do not. Example, theft. Net loss means the excess of expenses over revenue. So if I have more expenses and less revenue, then that difference is net loss. And if I have more revenue and less expense, then the difference is net profit or net income. The next term is drawings. Drawings, it means the amount of money or the value of goods which the owner takes from the firm or his personal or domestic use. So drawing means it is the amount of money or value of the goods which the owner take from the firm. So from firm, if I am withdrawing anything, like if I am withdrawing money or I am withdrawing some goods for my personal use, then it is drawing. Transaction, it means a business event involving transfer of money or money's worth. It involves exchange of goods or services on cash or credit. Entry, it means the record made in the books of account in respect of transactions. Entry, it means the record made in the books of account in respect of transactions. So after transaction, we record them in books. That entry in the book is called entry. That recording is entry. Voucher, it is a document which serve as an evidence or proof of the transaction. So if you purchase something, you get a bill, so that bill is called as voucher, and that is a proof of the transaction. Debit entries are shown on the left hand side of an account. In use of personal account, debit the receiver. In case of nominal account, debit an expense. In case of real account, debit an asset. So debit have different meaning in different types of account. For personal account, debit is debit the receiver, means we debit receiver. For nominal account, we debit an expense, and for real account, we debit an asset. The credit entries are shown on the right hand side of the account. So you can say the entries which we show on left hand side are debit, the entries which we show on right hand side are the credit. Rules for credit entries are: credit the giver, credit a liability, and credit a revenue or income. Next is discount. There are two types of discount. Discount, we are familiar with this word discount. So there are two types of discount. One is trade discount. Trade discount, it means the discount allowed on a printed price at a time of sale. For example, when a television with a printed price of 20,000 is sold at rupees 18,000, so there is a trade discount of rupees 2,000. Trade discount is given to increase the sale. Okay, so you go in shop and you see a TV with a price of 20,000. You say I want to purchase, and then you bargain, or the company itself gives you a discount. They say ki okay, if you are purchasing, we will sell it at rupees 18,000. So that 18,000 is now the selling price at that point, and the difference 2,000 is considered as trade discount. Now there is one more discount, cash discount. It means the discount allowed for prompt payment. Now I have purchased and at the same time I am paying. There are two types of payment that I will say that after 1 week I will pay. Okay, so that is a different case. But if on the spot I am paying, that is they are receiving money at the same time, then they will give me some extra discount, that is called cash discount. So when the buyer make a payment within a specified time or on the spot, cash discount is given. Its purpose is to encourage the customer to make prompt payment for goods purchased. So companies or salespersons, they encourage for prompt payment by giving cash discount. Now branches of accounting. The following branches of accounting have been developed to meet the different objectives. Financial accounting. Financial accounting may be defined as the science and art of recording and classifying business transactions and preparing summaries of them for determining the result of business operations during a particular period and financial health and the financial health of the enterprise. It is the part of accounting which is employed to communicate the financial informations of a business enterprise. The aim of financial accounting is to ascertain the profit or loss during a period and to determine the financial positions of the business at the end of the period. Therefore, the branch of accounting is concerned with the preparation of final account. Two main components of final account are profits and loss accounts and balance sheets. Profit and loss accounts is prepared for a particular period, say a year. All transactions of revenue nature relating to that period are included in the statement with a view to determine the profitability of the enterprise. The balance sheet is prepared on a particular date. All the transactions of capital nature are included in it to determine the financial position of the enterprise on that date. Second is cost accounting. Cost accounting is the process of accounting for cost from the point at which expenditure is incurred or committed to the establishment of its ultimate relationship with cost center and cost units. It is the widest uses. It embraces the preparation of statistical data, the application of cost control methods, and the ascertainment of profitability of the activities carried out or planned. Cost accounting is the specialized branch of accounting. It has been developed due to the limitations of financial accounting. The main objective of cost accounting is to ascertain the cost incurred for carrying out business activities. It enables the management to exercise control over different types of cost. And third is management accounting. Management accounting is the study of managerial aspects of the accounting. It is that branch of accounting which help management in carrying out its functions more efficiently. Cost no doubt service the internal management of enterprise by directing their attentions on efficient operations and ascertaining in reducing and controlling cost of day-to-day activities. But it fails to meet the information requirement of management for strategic planning and control. Management accounting has been developed to meet these requirements. The purpose of this branch of accounting is to provide relevant information in the appropriate time in order to help the management in decision making, control and other functions. So, branch of accounting means at higher level we have different types of accounting. Financial accounting, so financial needs we do accounting, that is financial accounting. For cost control we do accounting, that is called cost accounting, and for managerial purpose we do accounting, that is called management accounting, right? So in this chapter, okay, we have learned lot of terms. We have seen too many terms, okay, related with accounting. Very important chapter, okay. You should read this chapter 2 to 3 times and learn each and every statement of this chapter for better accounting knowledge, right? So I recommend that you again watch all the videos related with this particular chapter, okay, that will create more clear understanding, right? Okay, so thank you for watching this video and being with me in the journey of this meaning, objective and terminologies of accounting. So here we have learned lot of things related with accounting. Thank you.